Hi everyone and welcome to a new video. Now this is going to be a video with a little bit of a discussion and some shoutouts at the end of this video. Now this is a thing that has been on my mind lately and I always struggle to find a way to express what I'm about to say, but now I found the way to say it and I wanted to share that with you, and also at the end spread some bookish love because I feel it's necessary for myself and to keep me sane on this platform. Now to start off with and to make my point, I would like to show you some bookish mail I got today. Again, just to prove my point, I got today this book and it is called The View from Saturday by E.L.Konigsburg, or Konigsburg, I guess, which is a children's book. I've seen this on Horrow over at Wilde Bookgarden's channel, who I will mention later on as well. The storyline that is followed in this book really interested me, as it is an exploration of this, I think it is a quiz show or like a competition show. These school kids participate as they were picked by their teacher, and it explores how they were picked and why, and their story behind the names and why they got picked. I also got this book, which is Richard Hoggart's The Use of Literacy, which says as an undertitle, Aspects of Working Class Life. This is a non-fiction exploration of how literacy is in direct correlation with how we consume pop culture, and has it a negative effect or a positive effect, or how does it change things? How does being part of a working class environment change our perspective of certain kind of literary works or pop culture works. So this is an exploration that I'm personally very interested in, as it also is a topic I will be exploring in my studies. So I picked up this Penguin modern classic non-fiction work. Then last but definitely not least, I also got I'm Not Your Manic Pixie Dream Girl by Gretchen and McNeil. Now this is a contemporary YA about this student called Beatrice, and she is in a friends group that suffered from bullying quite a bit, from what I can tell by the blurb, and therefore she is trying to make out this formula for making them more popular, which turns out helps for her friends but not really for her. So she's changing up the formula to also make her a little bit more popular, but with that comes a price, and it really turns out to be something that might not end that well for the friends group and for herself. So this is a contemporary YA story. This is a non-fiction work, and this is a children's book. And now these three books do not only give you a great example of how widely I read, which is not something I want to brag about, but it is simply a fact that you can find some non-fiction, some heavy historical non-fiction on my shelves. You can find classics on my shelves. You can find poetry on my shelf, but you can also find a massive amount of chocolate and YA on my shelf. Not a massive amount, but quite some YA. I've been binging a crime fiction series lately. And the reason why I then wanted to join this community is because I wanted to connect to other readers. And of course, with the way my taste is shaped, I can connect to a multitude of other readers on here, because I can always pick out something different from their channels. If they talk about fantasy, I'm fine with that because I'm interested in that. I can listen to someone talk about classics or non-fiction. But I didn't join in because I wanted to find people talking about genres. I joined this channel. I made this channel and joined this community because I was looking forward to hear about other people's reading experiences, no matter how different they are from my own. Because that's basically how we should go on about life, being open about other people's experiences that are also very different from our own. And lately, I had the feeling that this was in the corner of BookTube that I first got introduced with my channel. I felt that this was discussed in a very biased and almost cruel way, because I in no way want this channel to be saying you what a good book is and if or if not you're a reader because you read fantasy. I don't say you are less valuable than someone who reads their heavy historical fiction or non-fiction, or I don't know, their classics. And that isn't just because my taste is so wide. Again, it just sounds always like I'm bragging about it, but it's not because of that, but because I thought that this community is much more about reading books and not the mentality of I would rather have you read nothing than what you read, which I found coming up quite a bit lately. And I had the privilege, and I'm very grateful for that, to have discussed this with my friend Matthew over at MCS-Books, because I felt quite not attacked, because I don't really care, but I felt that it lost a little bit of the sense that I was introduced to the community, that we are open about every reading experience and we are not judging anyone for the books they read, but apparently we are. And that's just weird, because you all know when you are on here that I love my Goethe, I love my classical poetry, I love my Shakespeare, I love all the classics. I have so many classics, and I've discussed so many classics in here, but I also love my chick lit and my children's books and my contemporaries and my historical romances. And no, they are not guilty pleasures. I enjoy them equally as I enjoy classic, and I don't feel any guilt whatsoever about that. And I might have had the feeling of, should I mention that I'm reading this and this book, because will it be accepted? And just brushed it off as a guilty pleasure. But it's actually not. I enjoy my chick lit equally as I enjoy my classic and my Goethe and my poetry. And this will be discussed on this channel. I will certainly look at how I liked I'm Not Your Manic Pixie Dream Girl. I will hopefully be able to pull something out that maybe relates to my studies or to another life experience. This is what you are going to get on this channel. And I've joined this community to be able to connect through others, through their reading experience, and not value one person's reading taste higher just because they are reading their classics and historical non-fictions and poetry, massive collections of awesome poetry. I read them as well, but I have not joined this community that those people value themselves more than those who are reading exclusively fantasy, because that genre in itself is just as valuable, because it's again about the reading community and the reading experience. And it should not matter if it's your taste or not. Just let people read. And I would rather have as many people as possible read whatever they like as them not reading at all. So, going into the shout outs I would like to do for today. I wrote them down on this tiny sheet. I wanted to shout out some people that I might not have mentioned too much on his channel. 4 of them don't really need my shout out because they are probably 10 times more subscribers than I have, but they have been, especially lately, a massive part of my booktube experience, and I am very grateful for that, especially again in a time where I don't feel that motivated to put content out there, because I feel like that someone is going to watch and be like, oh, she's reading this book, that's not too sophisticated for me, I will click away. And they have been showing me a side of booktube that I'm very glad I discovered, because they are basically not shaming anyone at all for the reading taste. And I'm not putting that out there lightly. There has been shaming of reading tastes on here, and we are probably all aware of that, and we just don't really talk about it. And I just had enough lately, and I'm grateful for those channels, because some of them read like mainly one genre, but they don't really care if you don't. They are very much about the reading experience, and I am really grateful for that. So the first booktube channel I want to shout out is Brushing Bookends, and that's Megan and Alessandra. Now, if I describe the channels wrong in any way, and if they are watching, please correct me in the comment section, because I want to show you what genres they read, but if they think they are missing out one genre I didn't mention, or I described the genre they're reading wrong, please let me know, because I will also put that in the description box so I can change it there. So Alessandra and Megan read a good amount of fantasy and around that genre, the under genres as well. They do enjoy their occasional like contemporary, I'm sure, but I subscribe to them because they are reading some books that I might not be aware of, and I always love seeing them talk about those books because they're very passionate about them and they are very open as people, so it's very engaging all the time, and I really just love their enthusiasm for what they read, and it really comes across that they are so passionate about the reading experience, and I'm always glad to have a new book on my radar that I was not aware before. So definitely check them out. The next person is, again, I mentioned her before, is Cara at Wilde Book Garden. Cara again recommended this book to me, The View from Saturday, which gives you a glimpse at what Cara reads. I think Cara is very, very eclectic in her reading taste, as she loves her classics, loves her contemporary, loves her children's book, but also is a great fan of fantasy. So again, it's exposing me to certain novels and stories that I was not aware of. And also she talks about series that, or books in the fantasy genres that I don't really hear being talked about on here that much, so that's always refreshing. This also goes for my dear friend Laurie at the channel Laurie Dawson. She recently got into reading and discovered that she really likes to read fantasy as well, and her channel especially to me is such a big comfort, because as a person who recently got into reading, you can see how she is so in love with reading about new stories every time. So when she likes a book, I cannot help but want to read it as well. And she's so much more than just, yeah, I've read it, moving on. She really gives you the full picture of her experience. And besides that, I just love her vlogging in general. Now, the next 4 channels are the channels that I've mentioned that don't really need my shout outs. And I've kind of grouped them together because they, first of all, they are the group that have given me comfort lately with the channels. Not that I've just recently discovered them, but I've gone back to old videos and watched live shows with them in, because they just gave me a lot of comfort in that time where I was not sure how to feel about this place anymore. Not to be too negative in this video. And I've grouped them sort of together because they are also pretty good friends. 3 of them are going to meet up at a book convention, which is very excited, and I hope they will vlog that experience. I'm not even sure they're going to watch that video, but oh well. So the first person I want to shout out is Natasha at My Reading is Odd, and I just love her personality a lot. Not to mention that it's very aesthetically pleasing to watch her, but I really love her personality a lot. And I think her reading taste is so interesting, because she has this series about Stephen King on her channel. And she also reads fair amount of contemporary as well as general psychological thrillers. So I get quite some recommendations from her, and I really trust her opinion on the book she reads. The next person is April at Aprilius Maximus. I've been following her for quite a while now, and she has a very eclectic taste as well. She reads her occasional classics, just as I do. She reads a lot of fantasy as well, and a lot of contemporary. But I've also really appreciated her historical fiction, historical romance recommendations. So I always sort of go to her channel for that, which is great. The next person is also just someone that I've connected a lot through her personality, and that's Julie over at Pages and Pens. Julie is also a fellow writer, which is nice to see also this perspective. I ordered and own now her short story and poetry collection, which I am very excited to read soon. Definitely going to review that on the channel here. She reads, again, lots of fantasy, very much fae-based fantasy, if that is correct. That's what I always associate her with. Also a lot of contemporary, great contemporary. She has, with the other person I'm going to mention, a book club where they always read those, how they call it, smutty romances, which is just it's a fun time, and I would love to join in one time, because it's great. Like, we should just read everything. Again, my opinion, I would rather have you read anything you want than you reading nothing. So I really appreciate her channel and her personality and her openness and friendliness to the community. So the next person is the person that Julie is doing a lot of live shows with and the book club, and that's Chelsea over at chelseadollingreads. Julie and Natasha are going to meet up, if I got that correctly. And I think April would go there too if she would not live, probably on the opposite side of the world in Australia. But they're going to meet up, and I'm really excited about that. Chelsea reads a lot of contemporary, again, also a lot of psychological thrillers and your occasional romance books. And I've got some really, really great contemporary recommendations from her lately, which I really appreciate. And she is just someone that, she is to me a very inspirational young woman, just from the way she interacts with people. So yeah, those four are sort of grouped together in my mind. And last but not least, another duo I thought I would start with a duo and end with a duo, and that's my friends over at the Hags, Rebecca and Sarah. Rebecca I always associate also with contemporary and some fantasy, and Sarah is just the romance books person. She reads other stuff too, of course. She also reads some poetry, from what I can tell. But she is always my romance person. She just has the best romance books on her channel, or on their channel, and it's always a pleasure, and it's always wonderful to watch. And so this is my message of the day. Never feel guilty about what you read. Read anything you would like. again, I would rather have you read anything you want than have you not read at all. And I hope we can establish that again more on this community. And I would like to thank those channels for being a motivation for me to actually keep going. And I also like to thank Matthew for having this discussion with me. I will also link his channel down below because I mentioned him now quite a few times. Yeah, I hope this doesn't get too much backlash. I don't want to spread any negativity. I think we just need to take a bit of a look at that issue and just remember that we're all here for the books and the reading, no matter which books we're reading. And if you think that is not the case, then that's fine. I will let you live, but then probably my channel is not something for you. Thanks so much for watching. If you know a similar channel to the channels I've shouted out, please leave them in the comment section, and I will see you soon, maybe, in another video. And thanks for watching. Bye.